You're tuned to Radio Poland, broadcasting from Warsaw. We have a very special guest in our studio today, Anna Maria Anders of the ruling Law and Justice Party. To many of our listeners may be known as the daughter of World War II figurehead General Władyslaw Anders. Since March of this year, also a senator. Hello.
Yes, hello.
Madam Senator, the most obvious question, apart from congratulations, is because of your family connections and traditions, was it so obvious that you would get involved in politics?
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. No, it's been very, very quick. I must say I never had political ambitions, not at all. I have been coming to Poland maybe the past 3 or 4 years, really promoting my father, his soldiers and history. And the visits became more frequent. I really enjoyed talking to young people because, you know, I feel that it's the future, so one has to cultivate those. And I had the advantage, of course, that the name was known. Last year, when the parliamentary elections were due to take place, I was invited by the Law and Justice Party to run in the elections in the part of Warsaw, it's area 44, District 44, where Polish people overseas, Polonia, could also vote. And I didn't get in, but I almost got in. I agreed to run there because I was interested in Polonia, you know, having really grown up abroad and spent most of my life abroad as opposed to Poland. But then everybody started to wonder why I didn't get in, because it was a fabulous result. I got almost 155,000 votes, the third largest number of votes in the country.
Impressive.
So in the new year, I was nominated minister to the Prime Minister's office, responsible for international dialogue. And then very, very shortly after that, I was asked if I would run in the by-election in another district, District 59. Because the person there had to give up his post, he had to take something else.
There was northeastern Poland.
Yes. It's Suwałki, Łomża, the area which you go. Yes, northeast, absolutely. A very patriotic area. Patriotic in the sense that most of the deportations from Poland into Soviet Russia came from that area. So full of history, very, very close association with my father. And I was persuaded to run there primarily because of that. But also Prezes Kaczyński, who is, as you probably know, I mean, not the official prime minister, but very much plays a huge role in the party. When he announced my candidacy, said it was also a gesture to Polish people living overseas. And he said that because from that area, there is a lot of people have family who live in the United States, primarily actually in the Chicago area, I understand. And since I lived in the United States for 20 years, you know, he felt that even I didn't get into the Senate before, I could still kind of represent them in this new area. And I won. So 3 months ago, I was, 4 or 5 months ago now, I was just the daughter of General Anders, which is still probably the most important thing for me. But to boot, I'm now minister and senator. It was very quick.
We at Radio Poland spoke to you about a year ago when you came to Poland to promote a very special book. And when we spoke about that book, which in Poland is called Córka generała I piosenkarki, the daughter of a general and a singer, you mentioned that you have 3 major interests: the army, veterans, and young people. Are those your priorities now, or among your priorities as a senator?
They will also always be my priorities. As a senator, of course, I feel that my duties as a minister, a senator, are in a way connected. But let's talk about the Senate first. My area, my district, is my main concern as a senator. I would like to develop business in the area because it is a poor area. It is an area which has been very much neglected by previous governments, and so there is a lot to do. The infrastructure is poor. They need better roads. I would get like some investments. I would very much like to see U.S. Army bases in the area, not only because of defense, which it is a very, very susceptible area. Even General Hodges in the United States mentioned that the Suwałki Gap is a very strategic area. So not only that, because if you have bases, you also have jobs. The area very, very desperately needs jobs. A lot of young people have left to go overseas, abroad, because there is no work. So jobs, infrastructure, my priority there. I talked to people in Łomża the other day, veterans actually, about the possibility of building a museum in Łomża, a museum which would incorporate the whole sort of the Anders Trail, so Norman Davis's new book, Trail of Hope. So Siberia, and then the war. Middle East, Italy, and then finally London or wherever they ended up. So they were very enthusiastic about that. The older people have tapes, they have memories. We have to do that because they will die, and the living memories will go.
And you came back to Poland for the first time in 1991, if I remember correctly?
In 1991. It was impossible before Poland became free. I came with my mother in 91. I remember my mother was incredibly moved. And for me, I don't know what I felt really. I spoke the language fluently, but it was a country that I didn't know. I felt a bit like somebody who had learnt a language at school very, very well, spoke it extremely well. And yet, arrives and it's like, okay, where am I? But people were very friendly, but primarily interested in my mother. I didn't come back to Poland for many years after that. The next time was when there was the unveiling of the Anders tank. And so it was actually Anders. There is a wonderful picture actually on my Facebook page, the Politico, is me standing by the Anders tank. And that was probably the first time that I realized how important my father was still to the country, because everybody was so interested in talking to me, and I was kind of flabbergasted, and that continued. That continued for the few years, which is, I think, probably what got me into it, because the invitations kept coming, and it became almost like a duty. And so the political thing was just, an accident, which was sort of a result, I suppose, of those few years.
A side effect that developed, if you will.
That's right. Yeah.
You are also one of the driving forces behind the government's plans to make it easier for Poles from eastern countries such as Kazakhstan or other Central Asian states to return to Poland, the Repatriation Bill.
Yeah.
If you can tell me a little more about that. At what stage are we? I know that one of the main or one of the crucial points of the bill is that the burden and the financial burden we switch from local governments to the state.
Yes, and it's about time. It really is about time. Poland has been free for 26 years. Nobody's been able to do it. The territorial government, the local governments have been able to help a little bit. It was not sufficient. So the bill is as such ready, but all these bills take an awful lot of back and forth, and you have to take various things into account. But briefly, we reckon there are about 10,000 people who would be involved in this. Anybody who would like to is going to be given the opportunity. The 10,000 number has been based on local parishes, so it could be a little more, it could be a little less, and we think it would stretch over a period of approximately 10 years. So the government would help in the transportation, and then some sort of living arrangements and some sort of money, some financial help. But I think we also have to think about jobs. For these people. It's not so easy also because of the language. A lot of them will not be able to speak Polish very well. So there are a lot of concerns. There are many people who had jobs in where they came from, their pensions, how do their pensions figure into all things. So it's very, very complicated. I think you start off on one of these things and then you realize exactly how complicated it is. I was very much proud because I was the person who kind of became the face of this new bill. I think because of my father, and it came very, very shortly after I was nominated minister, before I was a senator, that I was able to stand up in front of the cameras and say that this bill was going to happen. And then just about a month ago, together with the Prime Minister, we could actually show it was there. So I'm hoping that we can get a move on with this and that the first people can start coming towards the end of this year, maybe the beginning of next year.
I think we have very little time left. So one more question, Madam Senator, if I may. You mentioned that you meet veterans, you mean young people, you meet people in Poland, Polish communities abroad. You talk a lot about patriotism. Is this still, you think, generally and widely appreciated notion? I'm thinking in this day and age of selfies, tweeting, and a plethora of stimulus left and right, do you think the notion of patriotism still resonates the way it did years ago?
I think it should. I think you see the United States at 9/11, how they all became very, very patriotic. And I think if Poland was in grave danger here, you'd find everybody would be very, very patriotic. Patriotism for me is a love of the country, and my father was one of the greatest patriots of all time. His generation, the people who sacrificed their lives during the war, either that or the Warsaw Uprising, were huge, huge patriots. It bothers me that here in Poland at the moment, there are a lot of people who, to my mind, are not patriots. They talk a lot about patriotism, but there are a lot of personal ambitions. I think a lot of the bad press that has come from around the world, has happened around the world, it's actually, a lot of it is due to misinformation coming from here. People who were perhaps upset that they did not win the election. And it's not good. It's not good. It's not good overseas because people overseas don't necessarily understand the situation. For me, patriotism is to speak well of the country and to want Poland to flourish and to be appreciated as a great country as opposed to putting it down.
Are those the biggest challenges for you as a senator now to make it happen?
I think it's more of a challenge for me in my international dialogue role. Of course, the two are combined because the Senate is now going to be responsible for Polish people living overseas. So partially, yes. But I think the international dialogue, I think we need to speak with our neighbors. I think I have the advantage of being multilingual. I have the advantage, as I said before, having lived in various places around the world. And I find that ambassadors speak very are keen on, they like to speak to me. So I think it's a question of dialogue, contact, and hopefully we will get there.
Hopefully. Thank you. We had in our studio Anna Maria Anders, senator of the ruling Law and Justice Party, as well, of course, the daughter of World War II figurehead General Władyslaw Anders. Thank you.
Thank you very much.